Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Missed you last week. Yes, I missed you last week. I was in a mediation hearing out in Anaheim last week. So I had to deal with a commission dispute. Ultimately, the two agents settled, came to an agreement, so it was a good for the agents and good for the office. So let's give Fred a round of applause for spearheading last week. Did he do a good job?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Oh, see. Yeah. Just
Well,
I never can replace you, Simon. Never can replace you.
you did a great job.
Yeah, that's awesome. But again, Fred, thank you so much for taking the lead and helping. I know you did an amazing job. Because I was actually, while I was driving to Anaheim, I was on Zoom, so I was checking in on you.
Oh.
Awesome. Well, welcome. How's everyone feeling today?
Great.
Good. All these beautiful smiles. So thank you, thank you. Guess what? Last week of January. I'm telling you, it's going quick, right? All right. And February is only 28 days. So it's going to go quick. And before you know it, it's going to be the end of the first quarter of 2025. Nice. So a lot of us need to get going like yesterday. Okay. So awesome. We got a lot of great stuff for you. I'm super excited for today. So let's go ahead and get started. Next slide, please. All right. You know how we do it here at KW.
Simon, I can't hear you. Can't hear you at all.
See if we do the video. Is it on? Yeah, it's on. Jack, can you hear me, Jack?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, never mind. We got this.
Never mind.
Yes. Okay, maybe it's because I had the video on. Okay, rewind. All right, so our beliefs, when the value of your own company align with your own beliefs, you know you found your professional home, and our vision to achieve amazing professionals and personal development so that KW South Bay remains the agency of choice. Awesome. Give yourselves a round of applause, please. All right, let's continue. Next slide, please. All right. Next slide. Yes. It is Natalie and Rojo's birthday. So I know Nat is handling the slides, but I'm gonna have her sneak in here real quick. It's a surprise. Okay, she doesn't know. So Nat, if I can tell him, have you up here and also Rojo to wish you guys have a huge because the worst thing is yes. Are we getting someone married here? Big cake.
That was the worst scene I ever heard.
Awesome. All right, so we got plenty of candles.
You almost don't want to get on it.
I wish, guys. Okay, guys, what I wish. So, okay. Count of three. 1, 2, 3. They both turned 21, by the way. Plenty of cake, guys. So please make sure you take a big chunk and take it home to the family. It's just too much of a cake. Awesome. So we're super excited for both. A lot of June, or excuse me, a lot of January birthdays this month, so we're super excited about that. But especially for Natalie and Roger, because they work tremendously hard in the office, helping all of us too. So, awesome. Cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and continue. We're giving Natalie a little bit of time because she's handling the slides. Is Gary here?
Yes.
All right. Why don't we do this? Let's give Gary a round of applause. And Gary is going to talk to you about KW Cares, okay? So what best person to do so is Mr. Gary Nix. How you doing, sir?
All right.
Great.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Good. All right, so KWS, I'm sure you all know what it is, right? Anybody know what KWS stands for? All right, so KWS is where if anything were to happen, God forbid, anything happened to any one of us, death, sickness, whatever that holds you back from working. KWS is there to assist you. So can we, I'm gonna, well, let me first give you guys my story. The reason why I'm very passionate about it. A lot of people ask me, why do you love Keller Williams so much, right? 18 years ago, I worked in, like some of you guys, and working for this company. And prior to coming to real estate, I was in retail. And I've been very blessed in retail, so I've done very well for the company I work for. And I was transitioning because of my kids to get into real estate so I can have time to put them to all the sporting stuff. Well, I just closed my first sale, and I think I was doing an open house in Apostle Beach, and I got a call. There was an accident, and my daughter, had a bad accident, and I thought, okay, it's a big deal. She fell down. We can go to the hospital, take care of it. But it turns out that I was there for 3 months. She was in coma for 3 months. And now I've worked for a company in Westwood, and I've been the #1 salesperson for them for 7 years. Even though I was already making my transition to real estate, right? They find out about what happened. We didn't see you. I've been in the hospital, blah, blah. And they're like, Gary, whenever you want to come back, your job will get it for you. Thank you. Which is great. But this company that I just started working for just closed one sale. And they called me up and said, Gary, come to the office on Saturday, whatever. And I came that Saturday. And there was a yard sale. And people just brought their very best stuff to the yard sale. So collect some money to help me out. And if you've been in the hospital for 3 months, you're gonna need some help out, right? Especially being in sales, you work, you make money and you live by it. So I appreciate that. I don't know, some people don't, some people you do good to them, they don't care. I appreciate that. And beyond that, then there was a grant that I had to fill out some paperwork. I was a little shy about it. God bless Michelle Brown. She forced me, like, you gotta fill this out. And then the corporate, sent us a check, which really kept us going because it took a little longer at the hospital, So anyway, that's my story. And that's why I love this company so much. right? We have an opportunity to give back. And I'm sure we all know about the fires that's been going on, right? So, Nali, can you show the slide that, shows where our agents are, how many agents, families are affected by it?
I don't know if she has a slide on that. Did you ask her?
I don't know, but she showed it to me before, so I think it's already talked
Yeah,
about.
we probably don't have it.
Okay, so there were 28 families that was affected, that their house was destroyed completely. And here is my vision, and I hope you guys can help me out. Because just like people did for me on that day, and by the way, when I came to the office and I saw what was going on, I remember somebody brought some artwork, really good artwork that they were trying to sell to collect money to help us out. So anyway, let's pay it forward. So here's my vision. I want us as a family, that means the South Bay. Well, I'm gonna tell Mary to run the thing out for you guys. I want us to at least be able to contribute $10,000. There are 28 families. I don't know what 10,000 is gonna do. I'm gonna give the first 1,000 to it. And I just want you guys, whatever you can, it's $50 or $100, you can give, touch somebody's heart. Because 18 years ago, my heart was touched forever. So when brokers call me up and say, hey, you want to come? I'm like, you're wasting your time with me. Yeah. You better go home. And I hope you all got it.
Simon, we can't hear anything.
So anyway, I just want us to help. Let's raise $10,000 as an office. I'm sure at whatever level you can join. If you can join, if we can have 2 or 3 people join me at $1,000, we'll be right there. If not, if we have 10 people give 500, 20 people give 200. Let's give something that's the $1,000 out of my pocket right now is a lot of money. Okay, it's not like something I have to give. Let's give something that you feel that you're a blessing to somebody. Because there are some people that are going out there, I'm not that kind of person that, unless it's an organized thing, to help the people that are displaced, right? That's not my thing. I remember we went to Mega Camp one time. We went to Houston and did a lot of work helping people that their house was displaced. But this is more. This is not just that your house was, some part of your house, it's the whole house was burned down. So I just want to touch another KW family to let them know KW Sabe cares. So can you all agree to join me with that?
Yes.
Can I just say something too? I was surprised. I wanted to go to charity, like going through my time. Maribel ended up going on the weekends, right when it started. And I was like, I should just, call and say, pick me up, I'll go with you. But anyway, it's still time to do that too, because it's still need that help.
Absolutely. Gary, thank you again for sharing the importance of what we have, which sets us apart amongst other brokerages is, KW Cares, amazing agents like yourself. Even if it's $1, it would help tremendously. So he's a prime example, based on what had transpired with his daughter, and KW International stepping up and helping the families that unfortunately lost their homes. you to the buyers. So awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone. Well, let's go ahead and continue. Next slide. Oh, we already got it. So we got Andre with the
Well, happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
So, yeah, my name is Andre. I'm a termite inspector. I kind of work around this whole area. A lot of people know me in this office.
Spartan.
Yeah, I did a Spartan race with you guys. So I've been in the industry since 2011. I've been doing termite inspections with Termite Guy since 2013. Probably the best company out there. We offer 5-year warranties on our fumigation, 24-hour reports to get turned around, and we do our own woodwork. Everything that we replace, we do prime and paint. So a lot of termite companies just leave their basic wood up there. And I think that's pretty much it. Just a quick breakdown of the company.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
Cost for inspection.
Well, it all depends. If it's a condo, I usually charge $125 for the clearance fee, because obviously a lot of times I just go out there if it's clear. I know that, but a lot of times if it's a duplex, it's off. It's free with you guys. I never charge. I just go out there and do an inspection. So yeah.
Charge me, but I just filed bankruptcy.
So
To check my box.
I have my business card right next to the pizza, so you can grab it, save my number, and yeah, any second opinions, I'm glad to help you guys out.
Awesome. Andre, thank you. And again, there's food after the team meeting. All right. So now to our next guest speaker, we have Marcus Hawkes, Mr. Hawkes with Exchange Resources. He's going to provide you with some insights of the 1031 exchange. So without further ado.
Thank you, Simon. Good morning, everybody. And I'm known as Marcus Balf because my voice can carry. So good morning to everyone. I want to first thank Simon and the leadership team here at KW South Bay for inviting me here. I come bearing great news. At least that's what I'm told wherever I speak. And I think it's because of 2 reasons. I'm really passionate, being an investment owner myself, about the 1031 exchange process. But moreover, every time that I speak, it's kind of like I'm whetting your appetite to new horizons, working with some of the most devoted clients that you could ever hope to find in real estate. There's an anomaly that we live. We hone our skills on real estate based on principles of home ownership, when in reality, there are 2 types of ownership in real estate. There's home ownership and investment ownership, and they vary greatly from one another. So with that, I'm going to open your eyes to some new forms of revenue, new forms of clients that you can have. But first, I do have to make this disclaimer. So next slide, please.
It'll be up here.
Oh, okay. I am not a tax professional. We are not tax professionals. We are also not legal experts. We facilitate the 1031 exchange process. I'm going to be discussing some taxes and formulas that you're going to see here. They are for educational purposes. You also, maybe there are some people that out there have, a tax license or they have a legal license, but I doubt that you're going to use it and mix lanes when you're doing it. So the same as applies for you applies for us. Let's who we are, the next slide. A bit about the company that I work for. We are an independent, we were one of the largest independent qualified intermediaries in the nation, with over 60,000 exchanges under our belt these past 26 years. One thing that sets us apart from others is that we're independent. We're not related to any escrow company or to a title company. And that seems to be the preference for most of our clients. The other thing too is while we're not regulated by any entity, we are rigorously audited. And one discrepancy in the way that we do our work could discredit all of our exchanges from the past and going forward. And lastly, we do not commingle funds. We create a segregated account for all the monies that need to come into our holding for the purposes of the exchange. Those are very things that set us apart. Next slide, please.
Up here, but it's okay.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I have a different slide, that's why.
Oh, okay, we're gonna start, okay, we're gonna start with a look at capital gains. How capital gains are calculated. How many of you have been asked by a client, I need help understanding my capital gains, right? And what's the response? What's the response that you give them? I can't give that information to you. There's a reason why. Here's why. Because the way that you calculate the capital gains is by taking the sales price and subtracting the adjusted basis, which is the original sales price plus any capital improvements minus any depreciation that's taken out. So just by that fact alone, you are not privy to those figures. So you should never seek to calculate for them. But I'm going to show you a way to bind yourself with that client and make you feel good when you tell them, I can't do that for you. I can do something a bit better. Let me run a CMA on your property so that you'll have a great estimated value of what your house is worth, so that when your CPA does this accounting for you, they will have an accurate figure of your capital gains. That's just a little realtor week that I'm giving you. Next slide, please. So now let's take a look at an investment property that's worth 1.5 million. What the capital gains would be if that investment owner were to sell their home. We start off with, next slide, or next advanced slide. We start off with 20% that the IRS is going to want, okay, from their gain. Then that's followed by up to 14.4% for the franchise tax board. Ding, 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 ding. We are the highest tax state in the union. We're the winners. And the reason that it's gone up so high is because, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're kind of broke. Anyhow, the next tax that would be applied, would be the Medicare surtax, the 3.8. Some people call it Obamacare. It's the Healthcare Reform Act, and this is how that was legislated into being by creating a tax that would come out of gains. And then we have another tax, which is separate to that, based on the depreciation. If you know anything about investment owning, they have a depreciation amount that they deduct from their annual taxes. Well, whether they do it or not, at the time that they sell the property, the government wants 25% of that back. So whether they take the exemption or they do not, they're going to go. So what does that result in? That $1 million gain that they had on the property gets consumed, and leaving only 60% of it, because it can go up. Next slide. Next slide. They could, depending on their tax bracket, they would have to be met with a $400,000 tax bill. So what's the solution? Next slide. The 1031 exchange. So next slide. So here's a little bit of history. Back in 1921, much like recently, our country was coming off of the vestiges of the 1918 pandemic, when they ran into a farming crisis. If you know anything about agrarianism, you know that there's such a thing as crop swapping, that they will cultivate a certain crop and then leave it fertile for a new crop to be cultivated. So they occasionally have to swap out with another farm, another farm that has been cultivating another crop that leaves it fertile for their crop. So this is what was happening. They were coming into a farming crisis, the food crisis, because when they were doing those transfers, they were realizing an incredible capital gains amount. So they got together with their congressmen, and 104 years ago, they created this part of the tax code, the 1031, which allows investment owners to sell and exchange properties and thereby defer, not avoid, their capital gains tax. When they sell something and they replace it with something of equal or greater value. All right. There are some requirements. The intent is it has to be held for investment purposes. They're declaring it on their taxes for 2 years, minimum 2 years. They've been declaring that income. They've been declaring it as a property intended for business. The holding period is, like I said, 2 years of tax returns. There are some benefits. Next slide. The benefits are you can defer the capital gains tax, not cancel them. You can defer them. Okay, you can push them forward. And that otherwise amount that would be consumed by capital gains taxes, you can take that whole amount and you can reinvest it in one or several properties at value, right? So what does this do? It allows for buying power. You know, you can, that property appreciates. Now you're able to go from 1 to 2 to 3. You're opening more doors to invest, right? Next slide, please. Okay. And there's a term called light properties. You can exchange light properties. It's not structure, it's properties. Real properties intended to be used for investment or for business purposes. So you can go from a single family residence to a multifamily to a single family residence. You can go to a vacant land. Vacant land. Why vacant land? Development. Because it may be held for development or for investment, right? And you're going to find when you start working with investment owners, they have what is called a seller's and buyer's regret. I should have never sold my first property, and boy, how I wish I would have bought more investment property 5-10 years ago, like in a little place called Newport Beach or Hermosa Beach or Manhattan Beach, right? Or as recent as Pomona and Fontana, where farmland and vacant land has gone to now some big developments, right? Commercial property, 30-year leaseholds, oil, gas, and water rights, and this thing called Delaware Statutory Trust. Now, you are familiar with REITs, right? Real estate investment trusts. The difference between a REIT and a DST is that with REITs, you invest and you own shares. That's property, okay? It's property. But with DSTs, you have an interest in it because you own real property. So you have an interest in it. You're not getting shares. You're an actual owner of that investment property. More on that later at another time. And anywhere in the United States, you can go from Florida, Hawaii, Hawaii to California, California to Tennessee, etc. Next slide, please. What properties do not qualify? The personal residence or your second home. The personal residence, you get the you benefit from the universal exception, the universal exclusion, sorry. Up to $250 for an individual and up to $500,000 that you can deduct from that you can claim and withhold from the capital gains. Second homes do not qualify. Next slide, please. What about vacation homes? Yes, they qualify, but only under the following criteria. The property has been owned as an investment property for 2 years, for at least 24 months in the past 2 years. It's also been declared, right? It's been held. When we say it's been held, it's been held, it's been declared on their taxes, on their Schedule E. The property was rented at fair market rent for at least 14 days of each of the past 2 years. Or the personal use of the property, including when family and friends go up to the cabin and they don't pay fair market rent, or when you use it, cannot exceed 14 days or 10% of the total rented time. All right. So the Airbnb properties would qualify if they meet the time requirements. They've held them as such. All right. Next slide. Primary residence, advance, yes. Inventory. People that are flipping homes and that are holding this, that they're holding property as inventory, doesn't work. Personal property. This change let's say you have an industrial building that has machinery. The machinery used to be part of the exchange except for when the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 was enacted. Now, only machinery that is affixed to the property is able to be exchanged. Next slide. Next slide. Thank you. Stocks, REITs, as I had mentioned before, real investment, because you have shares, you don't have interest. Mobile homes, they are registered, the owner receives an annual registration for DMV, it's mobile, it's considered property, not real property. Manufactured homes, yes, when that manufactured home has been affixed to a permanent foundation. In title language, that's the 433C form, right? You familiar with that? Next slide, please. Now, let's take a look at the replacement property value, okay? How, when they're doing the exchange, it has to be equal or greater. But sometimes they need to go a little less because they're retiring, right? The good thing about, and where you come into play, is that they figure out the minimum replacement value by deducting any non-recurring closing costs. Your commission, the escrow, the title fee. Yes, even those mansion transfer tax fees, the recording fees, our exchange fee, as well as, get this, anything that is contractually listed as being a credit for repairs. The buyer wants you to credit them some money to repair the air conditioning or what have you. As long as it's that one time that they're going to be charged, they can deduct it. So what do? They take the value that it's sold at and they subtract your commissions and all those non-recurring closing costs to come up with a minimum value of what they have to replace. Minimum or higher. Got it? All right. So I always wink at people. You know, the other reason that I bring great news is before the new year, you were having all these conversations about commission structures and the new laws, right? Well, they're a moot point when it comes to exchanges because they can write that service off. Next slide. Okay, here's the other requirement. The same taxpayer that sells must be the taxpayer that purchases. So if the property is held by John Smith sells, John Smith replaces. If it's John and Pilar Smith Revocable Living Trust, then John and Pilar are the taxpayers that are in there. The entity is what is called a non-regarded entity, but they pay taxes. John and Pilar, they're going to be the taxpayers that can do it. Sometimes we get this question, I'm selling it, but I want my son to be on the transaction that I purchased. Not allowable. Not allowable. And there is some instances, but that's for a topic for an advanced class. Multi-member LLC is the taxpayer, because the reality is they don't see us as people. Next advance, please. They don't see us as people. To the IRS, we're a number.
Natalie, next slide, please.
We're a number. Yeah, so it's the taxpayer ID that has to be the same at taxpayer. The taxpayer ID that sells is the one that replaces. Next slide, please. So the 1031 exchange is an estate planner's friend. It's the topic of the motto that we say, it's swap until you drop. You can do as many exchanges in all the states, in any states, as long as you can keep on deferring the capital gains tax. If that property is held in a trust, when that exchanger passes away, if they bequeath it to their heirs in a trust, that heir, current law allows that heir to receive it at the step-up in basis. So when they get it, when they get the property, it's worth current market value, right? So if they go to sell it, all of those capital gains that have been deferred are canceled out and they get that money. They get that money sans any capital gains, all right? So again, we're not supposed to tell people how to vest their homes, but I'm gonna put on my title hat really quickly and tell you that it's allowable and it's actually advisable that you talk about the benefits of putting your property into a trust 24/7 and twice on Sunday. Next slide, please. Okay, here's a timeline. Here's a timeline. This is very, very important. And I'm going to have these slides and PDFs sent to you. So if you just send me an email, you'll have my email information. I'll send this all for you. So I'll wink at you with the important things that you need to jot down for emphasis. But when does the process start? It starts when you go into escrow of the relinquished property. That's when we need to be brought onto the scene to assign ourselves to the exchange, okay? It's when we send out the paperwork so that the seller can set up an account with us because they cannot receive those funds after closing. What is considered constructive receipt is taxable, and the IRS really wants to tax their money, right? So when we close, that's day 0. The very next day is day 1 of the 180 days, calendar days, weekends, and holidays count. 180 days that they have to close on the replacement property, okay? The first 45 days of that process are known as the identification period, where the exchanger needs to identify 1 to 3 properties that they intend to buy. And they can change that around, they can permutate it and combine it any way that they need to. But up until midnight of the 45th day. Once that time is up, then they need to close at value on one of those properties. They have to definitely close. That form, that identification period cannot be changed, cannot be extended, and they have to close on the property that they've identified. All right. Here's the sad news. Here's the sad news. And it's unfortunately there are times that they get into escrow on the 40th day with the property. And we're now in the 49th day and it falls out of escrow. And the other properties that they've listed as potential are now gone. So what that constitutes is a failed exchange. So they're going to pay taxes on what they did not transfer. And in this case, it's all that money.
Hold on.
Yes.
So to make sure we understand that very well. So on the property, their investment property is selling. If that fall out of escrow.
Not the property that they're selling. The timeline starts when they've sold because those monies have come to us.
Okay.
And it's day 1 after they've closed is day 1 of the 180 days. But the first 45 days are the identification period. Now, if let's say they've already gotten into escrow on the 44th day, the 39th day, but past the 45th day, they fall out of escrow.
Okay.
We all need to get on our dimpled knees and pray that one of those other properties will be available that they are going to successfully be able to close. If not, it's a failed exchange. Okay? It's a failed exchange. And what happens then is they are going to be taxed. But here's the worst part of the scenario is that money that has already come into our thing, cannot be returned to them until the 180th day. That's by law. Okay? That's by law. I didn't make it up. I just repeat it. I didn't make it up, but that's by law. That's what the IRS, we cannot return their money. Okay? Now, are these times extendable? Yes, but only during in presidentially declared disaster areas, okay? Like this fire area. But here's the thing, we do not grant the extension. We do not verify the extension. The CPA is the one who's going to defend whatever we do in the transaction. So the CPA will call us, we will share information, and we will process it as we go. And when it comes time for them declaring their taxes to verify or to, to finish the 1031 exchange, they're going to be able to justify it. All right. Next slide.
Marcus, 3 minutes.
Okay, we're almost done. So the other thing too, it's a 3 property rule, right? But there's also, if they want to buy 4 properties, and we've seen it occasionally, they want to buy 4 properties in exchange for the one, the 200% rule comes into play. They double the value, the sales price, the 1,500 would now be 3 million. And so if they purchase 4 properties, those 4 properties cannot exceed twice the transfer value. Okay? But that's for us to discuss with your clients. It's just good for you to know. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's the sales price, 1.5. Here's the non-recurring prices that go non-recurring clause. The minimum value is. Let's say the property has a loan on it. Does that mean that the value has changed just because they have a loan? No, that is value. So when they sell the down leg, they're going to pay off that loan, right? That's constructive receipt of funds that is taxable unless when they purchase the replacement property, they bring that $500,000 back. That value needs to be replaced and transferred as well. More on that later, but so they would either have to borrow for $500,000 or more or have that come in as cash so that they're replacing the value. Next slide. Anything that does not get transferred, let's say they have extra money left over that was not transferred for the purchase. Let's say they decided to take some money out, or let's say that they didn't replace that mortgage, it is considered boot. And the reason that they consider it boot is because the farmers in the olden days used to hide any excess in their boot. Anyhow, so anything that does not get transferred over receives that capital gains tax. And at the close of it, if there's anything left over, we as accommodators have to withhold 3 1/3% to start the payment to the franchise tax board that is later going to be finished come tax time. All right, last slide. Last slide. So we go from this, advance please, to this with the 1031 exchange. Last slide. So I have a class. I hope that I've whetted your appetite enough so that you would have me come back to do a more in-depth class on what's important to investment owners. I want your emails. Please send me your emails if you want these slides. I do on my own monthly webinars about on this topic. And I also put out a trivia quiz that you can win a $50 gift card from Amazon. And it really helps people. It really helps people. So send me an email, keep in touch. And thank you once again for letting me speak on something that I'm very passionate about.
Marcus, thank you very much. He's going to stick around if you have any additional questions after the team meeting. Great information to give to your investors, right? These are opportunities to defer capital gain taxes, and he facilitates the entire process from beginning to end. So thank you again, Marcus, for the information. All right, next slide, I believe it's lender updates with Fernando Diaz. Let's give Fernando a round of applause.
Got a bunch of non-fat treats for you guys today. Bunch of carrot sticks. So Simon's gonna throw it. We get to that part of it. But hi guys, happy New Year first of all. That I've not seen beginning of the end of last year. The Fed met today or finished their meeting today. And they didn't do anything, which was pretty much what everybody expected. But their words have been a little bit wishy-washy about future direction that they want to go. We're giving away for the, giving away questions. So, anyway,
Answer.
to be quick about it, there's a lot of posturing, guys, when it comes to them and what they're gonna do. Hard to really find true direction. I mean, I call it dork out on that stuff. So I was listening to the press conference on the way here. And somebody will ask him a question and he says something, I'm like, ooh, that's good for us, right? When I mean for us is real estate, right? Whether it's rates and housing. And then they'll say in the next sentence something, ooh, that's not good for us. And then he says something, oh, that's good for us. And then I hear, 2-3 sentences later, oh, that's not good for us. So there's like, it's a bunch of this like, seesawing, if you want to call it that. But I would say that, rates are pretty much going to stay, I would say, mid, high sixes, I would say, for at least first half of the year. I don't see any reason for them really to change unless something astronomical out of the left field happens. But I do feel that you will see some relief going into the future. So as I said before, I think that to really give your clients confidence and assurance in what they're doing, which is buying the biggest purchase of their lives for most of them, right? Their house. It's the year of the buy down, guys. I highly recommend. Inventory is opening up more, which means there's less eyes on a property because there's more to look at, which means you have a better chance of getting those incentives in a lot of cases for your clients. So I would become experts on it. I'm actually thinking about starting Natalie by doing a class on it for you guys, really run it up in different ways. So we'll talk about that, or I'll talk to them about it over the next 30 days to do that. Now, to the year ending car report came out, and I was shocked by a few things. And this is, once again, something you need to know. So those of you that get the right answer, Simon will throw something at you and hopefully you'll catch it and not get you in the face. So let's see here. Where did it go? Of course, now it disappeared on me. Oh my God, here we go. Boom.
Well, that's why I started throwing the.
Yeah, he's out of hit. So whoever did that, so here we go. Now watch this. What do you think the median home price in California, the state, was year ending 2024? Anyone? Who said 850? He gets it. Close enough. 861,020 for the entire state. Okay. It's a 5% increase year over year. Okay, so that's important to know, right? But the other thing that I thought was very relevant, guys, is this. In December, year over year, okay, so 23 versus 24, the state was up in sales of single family homes, almost 20%. That is huge. So those of you that closed deals in December, congratulations, because that was a big month. Okay, that was a big increase. That was one thing that shocked me, guys. So that means the market is starting to turn. I will tell you that we had I would say not a record, but over the last 3 years, our December is a record month. And I think a lot of it is because the election was passed, people got confident, and in November, December, a lot of people made moves. Okay. So that's been very positive. Now, year over year, let me give you what we just saw. And I was shocked by a little bit of this. All righty. I'm going to go quick and just make it simple. Few counties, the big ones. San Diego. What do you think the median home price? Well, what was the median home price last year? And what, give me that one real quick for price. In San Diego.
That's your 635.
Absolutely wrong. Not even close.
950.
Who said 900? Okay, she gets a prize. Right there, Simon, in the back. What do you think it was this December?
Who gets a prize?
Over there, in the back. What do you think it was this December?
50.
You're closing.
950.
No?
1,500,000. 1.2.
Okay, we're gonna go quick. You get it. 950. It's 975. She's close enough. All right. Riverside County. I'm gonna skip San Bernardino. What do you think it was last year? What do you think it is in? Who said 600? Oh, you get a prize. It was 605 last year. What was it year ending? Here, this stuff.
640.
Who said 640? Close enough. You're off. It's 624.
Watch out, here it comes.
Okay, we're gonna do Orange County, and then we're gonna get to our home turf here, LA. What do you think Orange County was last year, December 2023? Excuse me, 2023. It's an even number.
900 million.
Nope.
900.
Who said 1.1? I mean, that's a real soft one I'm giving you because it was 1.3 even. So you're 200,000 off. What do you think it was December ending?
1.3.
Who said 1.36? I heard that back there. It was 1362. So if you want it, that was close. Now, our county here, this was a shock to me in terms of that when you're talking to your clients, this is very important. We've talked about it before. What was it 2023 year ending December here in LA County? Whoever said 875 is kind of. Okay, how about this? I'm gonna give you that answer and then we're gonna go for the big answer, which is this year. It was 853, 340 to be exact. But what do you think it was as our year just closed, December? Huh?
908.
Who said 908? All right, give it to him. Here it was, 912, 370. Now, but here's the bigger shocker. Out of all the counties in Southern California, I mean, San Diego and us were neck and neck. It's pretty much 7% year over year. So it goes to show you, we've experienced the high of highs last year with rates in the beginning of the year. Then remember in September, we dropped down about 1% to the very low sixes. And then once again, we rocketed back up into the sevens as the year ended, right? So you may, oh, that's getting difficult. This stinks. This sucks. Whatever you want to use, right? And yet we're up 7% year over year in December when the rates were, pretty high at that point. So it goes to show you that activity is happening, action is happening, and educate your clients. I'm thinking the buy down is probably your best thing to grasp and move forward with going into 2025. And that's it.
Thank you. All right, I got 6 minutes, to present my broker update. So next slide. Next slide. All right, so what are the main forms that have changed back in December of 2024? Okay, if you're not aware, there's been some significant changes happening with the forms. Okay, one, the SAM eliminated and now incorporate the residential listing agreement and the MLSA form. Okay, the SPVB form has been completely eliminated. It's no longer part of your ZIP forms. Now that has transitioned into the RPA. That has moved increased deposit paragraph to a separate addendum, modified paragraph 3G to provide more clarity related to seller payment to cover buyer expenses. This paragraph now includes the amount being requested for payment to buyer broker. Buyer is making an affirmative representative that they have a valid agreement, meaning a BRBC, the buyer representation agreement. So therefore, the form has been eliminated. Now it's incorporated into the purchase agreement. So when you're asking for concessions from the listing agent and the seller, now G3 of the RPA has that language where you can put what you're requesting. But also, I want to emphasize and I want to stress that whatever you have on your BRBC has to reflect what you're requesting. Okay, if you are requesting more or less, that will ultimately be and needs to be modified, meaning that if you have on your BRBC 3%, right, and you're asking the listing agent and seller to pay you 2.5%, the buyer would be responsible to pay you the difference of 0.5%, right? Okay, and that's fine, it's valid. The buyer can pay you commission as well. The seller can pay you commission. But let's just say that on your BRBC it has 1%, and now you're asking the listing agent and the seller to pay you 2.5%. Okay, they can ask as part of the negotiations to ultimately determine what you have on your BRBC, because if it's less than what you're requesting, the contract and the agreement says that they can only pay you of what you are requesting from your buyer. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, good. The MLS, multiple listing service addendum to be used for listing exclusions. Okay, so now they eliminated, seller to exclude the listing from the MLS. Okay, so if you have a listing and it's not going live on the market anytime soon, we used to do a sale form, okay, excluding it from putting it on the MLS. Well, they removed that now. Now you have to register the property. I'm going to show you a couple slides and how that works. Lastly, the RLA added paragraph to authorize broker to publish, advertise the seller's willingness to consider offers asking for concessions, adding a corresponding paragraph to explain what seller concessions is. Okay, which is a twofold paragraph about what you are asking the seller to pay you compensation, and also adding the language of a unrepresented buyer as well. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the new change is G3. Okay, seller. So if you check it here, seller payment for buyer obligation to compensate the buyer broker. Seller agrees to pay out of the transaction proceeds a percentage or a flat fee. Okay, remember everything is negotiable. but this is the paragraph that now allows you to ask for concessions to you. It doesn't talk about credit to the buyer or any of that. It's strictly your commission. Make sense?
But your BBC has to coordinate with same amount as your.
BRBC, that's correct. Yeah, all right, next slide. Okay, so let's talk really quick on how you register a listing, okay? Listings are ineligible for public marketing. Days on market do not count. The listing broker and their agents can only give showing to the broker's own client, okay? So full transparency and with the clear cooperation policy that happened back in 2000 or 2019, the avenue and how you maneuver, register a listing, okay, that's not going to be put actively on the MLS immediately, right? Because we have coming soon, right? And that coming soon is 21 days. But also, let's say that it's going to take a little longer, that the seller may be doing some repairs, may not want it on the market. We still need to register the property within 24 hours after you have an signed listing agreement. Okay, so if I have a listing agreement today, you have 24 hours to register if you're not going to put it live on the market. Okay, next slide.
That's also for leases.
That's also for leases. All right, when you go to CRMLS, there's a section that says register listing. Next slide. Okay, so that will take you to this MLS Solutions, the RE Center Hub, which you can also find it on the link, and then that'll take you to the register section. You're going to add a new listing, right? And again, this is if you're not going to put the property on the MLS immediately, right? You're not going to put it active. Okay, next slide. Okay, once you go location, you're going to fill in the fields, starting entering the property address, search for listings and all that fun stuff. So it's pretty self-explanatory. You just got to go through the motions of it. Again, this is just to register the property, okay? Doesn't mean it goes live, because a lot of questions I get, Simon, is that going to now show on the MLS? No, it does not, okay? You have the ability to ultimately put it active when you're ready to have this listing go live.
Can you change it to a coming soon? Say that for
Yeah.
3 weeks and going live.
Absolutely.
You take a month. and
Yes.
put it up for-
Yes, yes, yes. You can put it coming soon. Next slide. Okay, then the listing information, again, pretty self-explanatory, residential, what the price is, and then the date that it's going to possibly go live. Okay, so that could be a future date. Meaning if you get the listing today, but the seller says, I don't want to advertise it, but I want to do it maybe next month in March or in May, then you're going to put on the listing agreement the beginning date and the expiration date of that time. Even though you have the signed listing agreement today, this is for the future when this property goes live. Okay, next slide. Again, if you're listed in or if there's a co-listing agent involved, then you must put all of their MLS ID information if you're more co-listing. Next slide. Then you confirm and review the information and update anything if needed using the previous button. When you click, you can confirm once it's set. If there is an issue, it'll tell you there's a issue with it, then you just got to go back and then fix it. Similar to when you input a MLS, you may forget a section that you need to go back. That's kind of similar when it comes to registering the property. Okay, next slide. And then confirmation once the information is correct, and then save. Next slide. You will see a confirmation and a new register listing ID will display on the top, staying here on the top, register listing created, and your new register ID number is da 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 da. Okay. Next slide. You can sort register listings by clicking on any column. So if you have multiple properties that you are registering because it's not going active, then you're going to be able to see all of the listings that you have on kind of a safe mode until it actually goes live. Next slide. And then once you create it, you can register, you can edit, send to the MLS, right? So you can do some adjustments going back to Jim. If you're going to go coming soon, it allows you to do the coming soon. Remember, this is just in the back of the system. waiting to get instructions of what's gonna happen to this listing. What if it cancels, right? But you can also cancel it as well. So let's just say that the seller changes their mind, they don't want to put the property on the market, and we officially cancel. There's also a cancellation sector as well. This is where you actually get to do it yourself, or I believe that the broker doesn't have to do it. Once it goes live and pending, and then ultimately gets canceled, then the brokerage has to manually. Yes, sir.
How many days before we go active? Like, we're getting a listing and it's gonna go active, let's say in like 2 days. Is that, you still have to register it, or how long?
Yeah, because remember, the listing needs to be, needs to go active or coming soon within 24 hours of getting the listing agreement executed. So if I get the signed listing agreement today, technically speaking, Chris, you would have to go live next day, 24 hours.
And the date
To
that
be
you're
in
talking-
compliance, just to be in compliance.
And the date that you're talking about is the actual start date, not the date that the RLA was created, but the
No.
start and end date.
That's correct. Yeah, it's,
How are they gonna
the-
police this?
it's that section. Well, believe me, how they police it is other agents watching. Because remember, when it comes to an off market, you hear this quite often, off market deals, right? You gotta be very careful. Because if you're promoting an off market, flyers, campaigns, any of that stuff, someone reports it, they're gonna send me and you a notification saying, hey, we noticed that you're promoting a property off market. Do you have a listing agreement in place? And if you don't, it's a violation. And that violation is very expensive, $25,000 to $5,000 I've seen. Yes, Brett.
And Simon, just to let you know, they are watching, just like the price gouging, we got another agent on price gouging for the fires, so
Yeah,
they are watching, so.
absolutely.
please.
Yeah, next slide. All right, so edit register listing, again, you'll be able to see all of the listings that you have currently registered. So you can toggle from one or the other. Next slide. And then create the information and save again. And then save, and then that confirms when you're registering the property. Next slide. And you will see a confirmation message indicating that you have successfully updated the register. Again, this is again, if you're modifying, right? You got to push the date, you've got to add something to it. That's going to say it's re-registered, and it should provide you with the updated information. Next slide. Okay, and then send MLS. The option allows you to send the registered listing to CRMLS and create an incomplete listing. Again, it's not going to go live until confirmation sending it to the MLS. Then you have to confirm once that property is either going to come soon or it's going to go active on the MLS. Make sense? Okay, next slide. Confirmation message will indicate the system has sent you a register listing on the MLS. It says that it can take up to 20 to 30 minute process window for the listing information to be transferred from RE Center Hub to MLS during the time it would appear as in process. Okay, so don't get freaked out if you don't see it just yet. Give the system some time to ultimately transfer it into an active or coming soon listing. Next slide. And again, all of the toggle information where you can get all of this information is through, you can see your dashboard with multiple listings that you have registered. Next slide. Cancel registration. Again, we went through it. You can cancel. Let's say that the seller decides to cancel. You can cancel the listing, and it never hits the market. Next slide. Please note that if the property type is incorrect or inaccurate, you will need to create a new registered listing. And then, you would have to contact the local board if you're part of the South Bay Association, PWR, Inglewood, so on and so forth, then you have to call the board. Okay, next slide. Okay, and off-market listings promoting internal, promote to your clients, must have a listing agreement. Okay, so remember, if you're going to be, and I caution you because I know you see a lot of people saying I have an off-market deal. Remember, the only way that you can secure to be in compliance is you have to have a listing agreement in place. Because if you don't, and they police this, they find out they're gonna send you and the broker an email saying, hey, give us some information. And ultimately, one of the agents out of the Long Beach got caught promoting an off market, did not have a listing. And ultimately, they were pushing it to fine them, and the minimum fine could be $25,000 to $5,000. So be very careful in how you're promoting yourself. Best is always get the listing. Do not promote off-market deals if you do not have a listing agreement in place. Okay, 25 to 5,000 fine. Next slide. Okay, any listing pitches and buyer needs and wants? No, it was a lot of information. Overload. None? All right, let's continue. Next slide. Just a quick upcoming events. Next slide. All right, Mr. Steve Gottlieb has his contract Q&A every Thursday, 6 p.m. to 7. Anything, Steve? Is Steve still here? Anything to add to that?
Just please come with your questions. I think I'm gonna kind of rename the class, Steve, what about? Referring to, look at the contract. If there's anything you don't understand on it, okay, ask me, hey, Steve, what about this clause? What about that clause? What does it mean? The more you understand, the more you digest, the more you're going to be able to advise your clients. So last week we had about 12, 15 people on. I actually have modified my setup. I now have 2 screens. I apologize for those last week who were stuck in the waiting room. The allow button got hidden behind my attachment, so I have that hopefully all corrected. So again, 6 to 7 p.m. every Thursday. Love to see you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Okay, next slide, please. Just a friendly reminder, every Friday, 10:30 here in the training room, I have contract class as well. I'm going to go over the understanding of the new transfer of buyer representation agreement, TOBR, okay? That means if you're transferring from one office to the South Bay, there is a process. So we're going to dive deep into the form itself. This Friday, January 31st, 10:30 to 11:30. You can also jump on Zoom as well. Next slide. Also, an invitation, the Hue and Blue team will be having an event here at the office called the Inventory Creation Day. So it'll be from 8 o'clock to 1 p.m. I encourage all of you, come in, and on the listen to call through, they're going to provide you with scripts, and lunch also will be provided. So again, it's an opportunity for you to prospect and try to get a buyer, try to get a seller. So it'll be February 3rd, 8 o'clock to 1 p.m. here in the office. Next slide. And just a friendly reminder, we're launching Ignite. We got all of the instructors teaching the curriculum. So if this is your first time for Ignite, please, this is a great opportunity to really just get the fundamentals, the basics, and really gear and ignite your business. All right, next slide. Starts February 3rd. And just a friendly reminder, we have AI for Realtors. Renee Garcia will be hosting it. It's a three-day event from 9 a.m. to 10:30. Starts Tuesday, February 4th, the 6th, and the 11th. So please make sure to scan or send a text message or a call letting them know that you want to be part of this class. Next slide. And then KW Care Super Bowl lunch. February 15, after the sales meeting, show your spirit, wear your jersey. Okay, can't believe it, just around the corner. Okay, if you're a Kansas Chiefs or an Eagle, it's going to be a great event, and more so, I'm rooting for the Eagles. And then Chris, is this your slide?
Yeah. So going with the Super Bowl, we're going to do our annual Super Bowl squares. We've got 2 events going. We got a $20 square, and then we got a $5 square. All the proceeds are paid out. It's 20%, 20%, 20% for each the first 3 quarters, and then the remainder is at the final score. We'll get the other 40%. So hopefully you guys can join. I've got it right here. All you have to do is sign up. You can Venmo me, and I'll distribute it after the game. So hit me up after the meeting.
Awesome, thanks. Okay, next slide. Wagging Valentine's Street giveaway, February 7th through the 14th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So bring your furry friends to pick up a treat. Okay, next slide.
We also have a photo backdrop, okay? So it's gonna be extra special.
Okay, Nat. So you heard it from her. Awesome, thank you. And just again, a friendly reminder of family reunion coming just around the corner. It'll be in Las Vegas at Mandalay Bay. Some heavy hitters, great guest speakers. So it's still not too late if you want to be part of it. You can drive over there, you can fly to Vegas. It's not too bad. Next slide. All right, that concludes our team meeting. Thank you very much. No, we're getting a little late. Vanessa and the PCBL program is starting now. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.